week, I'm going to ask for you to do some writing or sharing about your independent reading book. And this week, I want to know if the character in the book that you're reading is relatable. So, when I say relatable, what I mean is that they're a character that you identify with. You feel like you get how they feel, you feel connected to them in some way. So, what I'm going to ask is for you to write a paragraph. It should be a longer paragraph, 6 to 8 sentences long, really explaining your thinking. You do not need to use any formal structure. Don't worry about trying to use the claim-based paragraph structure that we've been practicing in class. Just write. Just write and share your thinking with me about the book you're reading, about the character. Your paragraph should include at least one example or piece of textual evidence, but an example is just fine. So, what actually makes a character relatable? Well, let's use Melly, the main character in the short story you read earlier this week by Justina Ireland, as our example. So, the first thing that I think makes a character relatable is that they've got flaws, right? None of us like perfect people. We want our characters to have flaws because we have flaws. We're not perfect. Maybe that flaw is that they're nervous or insecure or angry, or they make rash decisions. Whatever that flaw is, that flaw helps us as the reader to connect with them, to feel like we get how they feel, to feel like they in some way are similar to us. So Melly also has flaws. Melly is a little bit insecure. She doubts herself at times, and she really allows others' opinions of her to shape how she views herself. So I chose this example when she's talking to the mermaids, and the mermaids ask why she's not wearing the robes that an apprentice to the high sorcerer would wear. And she says, I'm too fat. I said, the admission feeling like something shameful, even though I wasn't sure why. Right? Melly allows society's opinions about her body size, the high sorcerer's opinions about her body size, to really shape how she feels about herself and her body. She does this throughout the story, whether that's about her talents, whether that's about whether she deserves to be taught by the high sorcerer. She allows others' opinions to make her doubt herself and her abilities. The second thing that makes a character really relatable, I think, is that they are just a tad awkward at times. And Melly is no different. Especially, I love when she meets Lyle and she gets like all kind of nervous and stumbles over her words, right? The evidence I chose here. She says, his face was very nice. And she says, I felt warmth that could not be attributed to the fire, right? She gets all nervous around Lyle and she stumbles over her words. She, throughout the story, is a little bit awkward in her conversations with the mermaids, in her conversations with the women that are crying, right? She just is a little bit awkward. And that allows us to relate to her, right? She's not this like perfect character. She's not super like confident and strong. She just is kind of a normal person that has these magical powers, and we as the reader relate to that. We get it. We like characters that are relatable. The third thing that makes a character relatable is that they're real with you, right? They're pretty honest about what they're feeling. They get nervous and they share that with you. They get angry and they share that with you. The evidence I chose here, she's talking about how the high sorcerer gave her a room in the servants' quarter. And she says, like, right? In hindsight, I should have known right then that I was never going to get anything more in the way of training than a lot of time in the library studying and translating. Poor Malia, Molly, Meredith. Remember, the high sorcerer calls her all these funny names. He never uses her correct name. Too weak and useless to even bother training. But Melly, she is going to stop wasting her time, right? She's real with us as the reader. She shares what she's feeling. And that is really relatable. We like to be able to see what the character is feeling and thinking. And then lastly, despite everything, right? They're awkward, they've got flaws, they make mistakes. Despite everything, as the reader, we are rooting for them. There's something about them that makes us want them to win. And that is because they're so relatable. Like, we get them, we connect with them, we have felt what they've felt at times. So what you're going to do right now is you're going to write a paragraph about your character. And I want you to tell me whether that character is relatable. So you could choose to say that your character is not relatable, and you could tell me all about how you cannot identify with them and why you don't get how they feel and why you're don't feel connected to them. That's totally fine. Or you could write about how they are relatable, and I want you to tell me about their flaws and how they're awkward and how they share their feelings and thinking with you. So I wrote about Melly. Here's my paragraph. And one of the things I want you to notice is that I'm not using any formal structure. I'm just writing. I'm just sharing my thinking. So here goes. Melly, the main character in Melly by Justina Ireland, is totally relatable. I think the fact that she doubts herself at times, even though she knows she's great, is something I can definitely relate to. For example, when she admits to the mermaids that she's too fat, she says, "I'm too fat," I said, the admission feeling like something shameful, even though I wasn't sure why. She doesn't care that she's chunkier, but she lets others' opinions of her get to her. I totally get allowing others' insecurities shape my opinions of myself. She's also a little awkward at times. When she meets Lyle, she stumbles over her words because she thinks he's attractive. She's not an uppity character like a lot of characters in fantasy novels. She's down to earth and is someone I feel like I would be friends with, right? I'm just sharing my thinking with you. I'm not worrying about any structure, but I'm really talking about why I connect with Melly, why I feel like I get her, why I feel like she's like me in some way. I want to just take a moment while I have you here to remind you of the don't you dare forget grammar rules. When we are writing online, sometimes we forget the fact that we're supposed to capitalize the first word of a sentence, or we forget that we should capitalize proper nouns. Some of you in the previous assignments haven't even been capitalizing your own name. We forget rule number 4, that we need to end every sentence with ending punctuation. It is so important that you are following these rules, especially when you are working online. So I know it's hard to remember to capitalize and to punctuate, but please make sure you're taking the time to do that. So you can write your paragraph either in Word, and then when you click on the submit button in Schoology, you can just upload it as a file. Or up at the top, when you click submit, there should be a tab. I'm so sorry I can't show you, but there should be a tab that says create. And you can also just type it in the actual assignment under the create tab. But remember, when you do that, you're gonna, if you're in Word, it's gonna capitalize the first letter of a sentence for you. But if you click on the Create tab, you're gonna need to do that yourself. So remember those don't you dare forget grammar rules. Okay, get started. Share with me about your character. Are they relatable or not?